Welcome to Phil Wilson Chats with Celebrities. And here's your host, Phil Wilson.
Seattle natives George Merrill and Shannon Rubicam formed the group Boy Meets Girl and have written for many iconic singers. But without a chance meeting, they may not be talking with us today. Welcome to the show, George and Shannon, or Shannon and George.
I like that. Equal time.
Yes.
Thank you. You're hearing us from beautiful California wine country.
Wonderful, wonderful. And have you sampled any of the good old spirit?
Oh, no, we never drink wine. No.
Oh, no.
No wine drinking here.
No, you just look at the vines passing by in the car.
Yeah, sometimes you just forget the bounty around the world when we have such bounty here, but certainly there's good wine elsewhere as well.
Indeed, and whereabouts are you speaking to us there from, George?
Same thing, a few miles south of where Shannon is. I'm in the recording studio for Boy Meets Girl, which
Wonderful.
Is my backyard.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it looks nice and cozy there, George.
Yeah.
I've heard that you had a chance meeting at a wedding where you were booked to perform. How did you meet on the day to form this iconic group, Boy Meets Girl?
Well, it was somewhat happen chance. We were both hired to perform at a big society wedding in Seattle. We've all heard of the Boeing company.
Yes.
It was the daughter of William Boeing. And,
My goodness.
Yeah, so it was kind of a big deal, and for a small town, Seattle, it's at this point it's a moderate city, but at the time it felt fairly provincial, and so it was a very big deal. Shannon, all the musicians in town were hired to do something at the wedding because there weren't a huge amount of musicians in Seattle. We were all hired to do something. I was in a background choir, and Shannon was one of the soloists on a song that was written for the wedding. The song was called Forever. It was a beautiful song. And Shannon can take it from there. What was it like to be in the organ loft singing out for the crowd?
It was a big cathedral, and the organ loft was in the back of the church, way up high. So, our bird's eye view was of very fancy hats going by.
Right.
That was fun. I was very nervous, I remember, but I pulled it off, I think.
You did. You sounded.
It really wasn't a matter of that. It was just it went well, and it was the wedding, and I wasn't. The big deal. It was Susan Boeing and her husband getting married, so that was their show. We were way in the background, but we met at the reception, actually.
Right.
George and his friend David, who sang together and wrote together at the time in their high school band, they came up individually and introduced themselves to me and kind of stuttered along, and then they would wander off, and the other one would come up and stutter along and wander off, and I thought,
yeah,
and then I saw
Abity.
Yeah, it was humorous, and I didn't stay long because I didn't know anybody there, but I went to hear some music about a year later in this underground bar, and George and David were playing, and I was just enchanted. They sounded so good, and they had these beautiful harmonies. George was playing keyboards, and David was playing guitar, and they did cover songs, and then they did a few of what I think were their own songs.
Right.
And so I ended up auditioning for them because I needed the third part harmony. Harmonies, I love harmonies. So I auditioned, me and another woman there who I think might have been homeless, and which is
Shannon, you really lower the bar here. It was so good to see Shannon again. We hadn't seen each other in all that time, and we were thrilled. The level of her talent blended really nicely with David and me, and we actually had I've gone back through the archives. I'm transferring some of it to digital now.
Right. Yes.
So I found some old recordings of our performances, and we actually we're pretty darn good. It's I don't want to brag, but
No, they were good.
Yeah.
So I was happy to join that group. So that we sort of went off from there.
Yeah.
And when you got together as Boy Meets Girl, was it easy to write music and lyrics together from day one?
It didn't happen from day one, actually. I think more than a year went by before, a couple of years went by before George and I started writing together. David exited the group, and then it was just George and I. But just shortly before that, he was playing some music in a rental house as we were playing gigs down in Southern California. And, it was a rental house just for a few months. So we didn't have any cooking gear. We didn't have any furniture. Our sleeping bags were rolled out in the bedrooms. But there was a piano because we brought it.
Right.
And so he was playing music, and I had just written some lyrics the night before. Everything about Southern California felt so brand new. And so I had written these lyrics, and I heard George playing, and I just sort of drifted on into the room with my lyrics and started singing right over his music. And it was, it just worked so perfectly. I thought, wow. I mean, before we knew it, we had a song, and it was the first song we wrote together.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Excellent.
Yeah, the music, it was just obvious to me. And that was a new experience. Like Shannon's meter in her lyrics were it was just so beautifully lyrical, and it had a rhythm to it already.
Wonderful.
It was a lovely dovetail, and the song was called "Good Exchange" as well. So seemed
gratuitous.
Gratuitous, yeah.
Yes, it's a perfect fit, isn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Absolutely wonderful. Is that something that may come to the light of day one day? That song?
It's possible.
Yeah, we have a actually. Speaking of the archiving, we're kind of thinking maybe that's the next release for Boy Meets Girl. Is we'll gather up some of the gems that nobody's ever heard. They're just locked away. But through this archiving, which has been very exciting, we've found recordings of Good Exchange, and we have Waddy Wachtel playing on it. We have Jay Graydon, we have Tris Imboden and George Hawkins from the Kenny Loggins band.
Oh my goodness, amazing.
And I think George Hawkins is singing backing vocals with Shannon and me on the song. So it's just
I thought we'd lost that recording.
No, we have that one. Yeah, and so I'm going to transfer it, and we're going to have it available. And so chances are we're going to do a release at some point. It's going to be fun to share.
That'll be beautiful to hear, and I'll look forward to playing that on my radio shows here.
Thank you.
You have written songs for many artists, including the iconic Whitney Houston. What was it like writing for her?
Oh, wow. Well, at first, again, the first occurrence was the song "How Will I Know." We had actually written it for Janet Jackson, and through the how things go, she was actually in the middle of making a different kind of record. We had written a song based on what we knew of Janet Jackson, but she was heading in a whole different direction. So they passed on the song. And then it got sent on through a whole series of people, made its way to Narda Michael Walden, who then made some changes to it. Shannon and I, followed suit, and Shannon wrote some more lyrics for it. And it became a whole different, not a whole different song, but you can hear, it's actually kind of fascinating because the new movie that's come out with Whitney.
Yes.
In the movie, they use our demo for How Will I Know. Yeah.
Excellent.
And you actually hear Shannon. If you have the what do you call it? When you have the words all on the bottom. What's
oh yes, like karaoke kind of thing.
No, well, it's not.
But it's not karaoke. I know what you mean. Sing along.
Yeah.
Sing along.
Anyway, Shannon's name comes up when it says, how will I know Shannon Rubicam singing? And it's like, if you have the SAP or whatever it's called.
Oh, yes, I know what you mean.
Like
Yes, it comes up in the corner.
Subtitles, yeah.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And so in that part in the movie, it's kind of cool to see Shannon's name in the movie, I just happened to have it on, and there it was. Anyhow, it's interesting to hear the demo of the song and then hear the metamorphosis, what happened with it during the course of Narada Michael Walden taking it, arranging it,
yes,
adding all the great rhythm and music that he did. So it was a good, fun excursion. So that was really our first experience with Whitney Houston. We didn't actually meet her till much later. Actually, it was about a year later, I think.
Right.
Well,
right.
we didn't, when we first wrote How Will I Know, I mean, no one had ever heard of her. We didn't know what she sounded like or anything. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of writing. We wrote it for Janet, but it was, subsequently getting the new verse lyrics written. We didn't really know still who we were writing for. We didn't know until some friends of ours who worked with Narada in the studio called us up and held the phone out because they had just finished a rough mix on her supposedly rough vocal, which was just brilliant,
Wow.
Yeah.
Held it out to the speakers, and we were both home when we listened. It was over the landline, so we're listening, like
Excellent.
We were boggled. I mean, you hear her voice for the first time and you hear that explosive Narada track. Everything's just right out of the gate, boom.
It is straight in. Yes.
Yeah. Randy Jackson is doing that great bass that goes,
whoa, is it?
The whole thing.
Wow.
So, the whole thing just had so much energy. And actually, just as we're speaking here, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but all of us ended up, including Whitney Houston, we actually created something new. Between the writing of the song, thinking of Janet Jackson and the way it was, but the song that we wrote got redefined by Narada as he was thinking of Whitney Houston, but he had never heard, Whitney Houston had never sung anything like this before.
No.
So she rose to a different place to sing the song. So I love thinking about it that way, that so many times things are of a piece. They kind of sound like something familiar, and that's why we like it too. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way it is. But in this case, I felt like we were really part of something really fresh and new.
Yeah.
Definitely was as well. And that's the bit at the start there, the bass there, the woo. I mean, I love that bit because it really, like you say, it just gets you, this is what's happening here. This is great.
Yeah.
Right. Was that an original idea of Narada Michael Walden's, or?
I've never heard it done that way before, so it was just sort of like, pay attention right now. It was a very cool idea, and I attribute it to Narada. Yeah, absolutely, and his crew.
Yes, I think if they put that, I don't think they'll put that in a music quiz because everyone would get it right. There'll be no bonus points for that one.
Well,
name that tune.
Yes, it would be a minus if you missed it, I guess.
That's right. Definitely.
Right. Maybe the bonus point could be like something about Randy Jackson was the player. I don't know.
Well, actually, that is good. Yeah, we've just given somebody food for thought there for the next pub quiz. Thank you very much, George. Fantastic. Now, talking about fantastic tunes, what about I Want to Dance with Somebody? Because it's forever played on the radio worldwide and always gets people up on the dance floor, no matter what the occasion. Did you think you had a hit on your hands as soon as it was released?
I think that we, once we'd written the demo, we thought, well, if Whitney does do this and if Narada produces it, we stand a really good chance of this being a hit, because it just, it really felt to us like a strong song. We connected with it. And we also thought, well, if she turns it down and Clive doesn't like it, then we'll do it ourselves because we really feel this song.
I had the faith in it, yes.
Yeah.
But it is a wonderful song, and every time, I mean, my wife, she does dancing and things, and she had that featured in her dance, which was with a group at the Blackpool Winter Gardens, and the dance to that. So they will be so pleased, you know, they'll be so chuffed that I've been speaking to yourselves, because that was used in their dance routine, and I think they did quite well with that being the first track on the dance routine. But yeah, it's a fantastic tune, and it's. I mean, I'll tell you what it is. Going to your EP, which you've got out now, called 5. It's got How Will I Know on there, which absolutely sounds fantastic for Boy Meets Girl.
Ah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was our little studio version. We were playing around I think we were kind of retooling, and we hadn't worked together for a little while. George had moved up to Northern California, and I was still in Los Angeles. And so I came up for a visit, and we thought we'd just kind of get back in the groove again of writing and singing and using some of the new equipment that he'd got and set up and testing the sound. So we just did that playful version, and we thought, well, this is kind of fun, let's just keep going on it. So we did, because it's our song, and we'd never put it
Boy Meets Girl. We'd never actually done a recording of our own song.
Really?
It's kind of I mean we did the demo, of course, a long time ago, but so it was actually a lot of fun to actually take the final arrangement, like especially for How Will I Know, because it had gone through so many changes, and then find our own way to do it. So it was great fun.
Because when I played that on the air I called it the album of the week on my show just a week ago, it received a lot of feedback, absolutely fantastic, and the mix, the martini mix, I had to tell people what it was, the martinis mix, absolutely fantastic.
It's got that effervescent feel, so we were just thinking, woo, martini mix.
Yes, it definitely works a treat as well. Now, on your music now, as Boy Meets Girl, you've had immense success too, particularly with the song Waiting for a Star to Fall, taken from the album Real Life, which was released in 1988, which is actually a personal favourite of mine. How long did it... Oh, absolutely love it. How long did it take to write and record the album and the single? And is there a story behind the single?
Oh, well, there is a story behind the single, because it actually involves Whitney Houston. It goes back a ways.
Right.
We had the good fortune to get invited to see Whitney down in Los Angeles at an open air theater called the Greek Theater. Summer night. And Shannon and I are back by the mix board. Sound is great, and it's not a polite concert, but it's very comfortable, a nice warm night and everything, and everybody's in a good mood listening to Whitney Houston sing. And all of a sudden the first chords of How Will I Know, da 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 da, comes on, and everybody just goes, oh, and they're all standing up, and they're just like, yeah. And it was this big thrilling moment, right? And I'm up on my feet going, yeah, this is great. And I look over, and Shannon's not by my side. She's sitting down, and she's scribbling madly into her book. And well, Shannon can tell you more about that, but it was just, it was like one of those things where, what was this?
Where is she? I had, because it was an open air theater, I had just happened to glance up when How Will I Know started, and this shooting star went across the opening of the theater. Amazing. It was just one of those moments. And so I just quickly wrote that phrase down, waiting for a star to fall. And because I had learned by then, if you think, oh yeah, this is a cool idea, I'll remember it, and you don't write it down, it is gone, baby. So, so even though, it was a big moment in my life for listening to Whitney, I just took time to write it down.
Hey, good job you did as well, because an absolutely beautiful song as well. And of course it was re-released in, was it 1991 for the Three Men and a Little Lady film?
Yeah.
Yep. And when I was watching that movie with our daughter, who was very small at the time, we were watching the was probably the beta.
Yeah,
it was Betamax
or something.
Betamax.
Right.
We were watching the VHS, and I didn't tell her it ended with our song. So the end comes and the credits are rolling and our song comes on and she starts jumping up and down. Mommy, that's your song.
Oh, what joy. It's amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I absolutely love that film as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Your song makes the film.
You're
Definitely.
too kind.
Yes, I've got the 12-inch single somewhere as well, yes. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I have,
That is
yes.
cool.
Absolutely.
I think my
fantastic.
parents bought the 12-inch single because I think when we were going through their stuff, a few years afterward, I was looking through a box and I found, it was like in pristine condition.
Oh, it's fabulous. And it's got a little bit of it's got the three men there singing a little lullaby there. It's time to go. Do, 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 do.
I love that you know it. That's great.
And George, I like that in your parents' house it was in pristine condition because you can't imagine they played it.
Not a lot.
They didn't.
No, not a lot. But they loved me. They
were great
and they
supporters.
They were great
They were
supporters.
huge supporters.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd oftentimes be out, touring with Boy Meets Girl, and we'd be visiting a radio station, and the DJ would say, it's so strange. We're just getting an inordinate amount of calls. Trying to get people to play "Waiting for a Star to Fall" right now. It's like your fan base is really coming out. Well, it turns out that we have family kind of spread around the United States in various places. And, my dad would be in the barber shop with my uncle and they'd go, "Oh, we got to call in." And so they'd have the whole barber shop call in and stuff.
It was the Merrill call-in campaign, I think.
Yeah. The radio stations were on to us. Wow, can you play that song? Waiting for like some my dad's an old coot calling up. What's that about?
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, now bang up to date, and you have a brand new EP out now called 5 on Wonderground Music, which has some great songs on it, including a track which features Perlo. What was it like recording this track, and is there a story behind it?
Perlo. That's going to be gone, right?
Yes.
And it's a remix, and Perlo is a band. Marie and Henry Bardot is his performing name. He's the son of our fame guide that has really helped guide our careers since we left Seattle way back.
Right.
And it's a lovely band, Perlo. You should find them on you can look up Perlo, and their music is all over YouTube. It's beautiful.
They're excellent. They have such perfectly blendy voices. So when we put on the 5 vinyl, our version of Gone, and then we added them in on a second version because we thought it would be really fun to hear what they would like to add. So we just handed it over to them and they put some more vocals on and I think a few other bits also.
Little guitar and some piano, a little extra added piano thing, I think. Yeah, it was just gorgeous. And Marie did those high lilting harmonies in the middle
sounds
section.
Lovely.
Yeah,
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Are there any projects that you've got coming soon that you could tell us about?
Tell them about Graham Nash.
Okay. It's not a secret. I want to be loud about it. I'm really excited. I got a chance to write with none other than Graham Nash.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. And Crosby, Stills, and Nash fame. It's a long-winded story of how we met. Chapter 2. But the fact is that we wrote a song called A Better Life. Let's make it a better life and leave it for our kids. Lovely. A lovely place. Anyway, it's song that both of us are very proud of, and it's the second single from his brand new studio album. And the studio album gets released in May, but right now you can find A Better Life on Spotify and Apple Tunes, iTunes, and everywhere that music is sold.
Exactly. That's absolutely fantastic. And
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. It's meant to be a very hopeful song, maybe altruistic, but what's the harm of that, really? Why don't we aim high?
Yes, you've always got to aim high. That's what I say as well. And that's the best way to be, isn't it? And finally, yes, we've come to the end now, because finally, there's a favorite song that I've got from your brand new EP5.
Oh, what's that?
Which is called Everything New. And I was wondering if it's possible for yourself and Shannon to maybe introduce it for our viewers and listeners here.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we just jump in?
Let's jump in.
Okay. I'll start, George, and you jump in then.
Okay.
Hi, this is Shannon from Boy Meets Girl, and you're listening to our song, Everything New. It's perfectly made for a spring day.
Beautiful.
I'm not going to step on that. That was beautiful.
Yes, Shannon said it so sweetly.
Nicely done.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, unfortunately, the time's nearly running out here, but I'd like to thank George and Shannon for joining me there from Boy Meets Girl. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Oh, Phil, it's been a pleasure, and I'm hoping that someday our paths cross actually in country. It'd be fun to see you over there.
I do hope so. It'd be great to see you.